I was walking through the streets of Metropolis when the sky tore open above me. At first, I thought it was a storm, or maybe some alien tech experiment gone wrong. But the light? It wasn't natural. It shimmered like liquid gold and blue fire mixed together, bending the edges of buildings and the air itself. The hum of energy pressed against my chest, making it hard to breathe. People stopped in their tracks, staring upward, some screaming, some dropping to the ground, as if the world itself had suddenly become hostile. Then they appeared. Ships massive, impossibly massive, hovered in the sky, gold and black metal gleaming even through the warped light. Their shapes were angular and brutal, like nothing I had ever seen in my life. From the hulls, figures descended, not with wings or jetpacks, but as if gravity itself obeyed them. They wore armor that reflected the alien sky, each movement precise, disciplined, terrifying. Psychers floated alongside, robes fluttering even where there was no wind. Hands glowing with energy that distorted the air like heat over a desert. I reached instinctively for my communicator, but the signal failed. Phones went dead, radios went silent. It wasn't just the ships, something about the air itself was interfering, twisting reality into a new set of rules. Superman appeared next to me, eyes scanning the sky, face tight with tension. Even he paused, hovering above the streets, wings of uncertainty spreading for the briefest moment. Batman arrived shortly after, gadgets drawn, analyzing, calculating, but even his instruments flickered. Failing to account for the laws being bent around us, the Space Marines landed in perfect formation. Boots striking the asphalt without leaving cracks, weapons that seemed alive in their hands. Their presence was more than intimidation. It carried inevitability, as if they were the universe's judgment walking among us. Civilians scattered, some screaming, some praying, some paralyzed by awe and fear. I couldn't look away. Each of them carried the weight of their entire order on their shoulders. Each was calm, deliberate, terrifying in their absolute certainty. And then I noticed its shadows moving at the edges of perception. Twisted, hungry shapes that seemed to respond to our fear, to the panic and hope we carried inside ourselves. Something dark had followed them, not entirely part of this world, not entirely part of theirs. It whispered without sound, tugging at the edges of my mind. Superman surged forward, piercing the warp of alien energy, trying to confront their leaders. He hovered before a figure whose presence pressed against everything he knew. A psychic weight heavier than anything the sun could create. I could feel the air shift as the alien presence looked at us. Not with malice, not with curiosity, but with the certainty of something beyond comprehension. Every instinct screamed that this was no ordinary battle, no ordinary threat. These forces were not just stronger, they existed on a level that made strength meaningless. A power so absolute that even heroes felt small beneath it, and I realized that nothing in this city or in any world I knew was going to prepare us for what had just arrived. I followed Superman as he floated closer to the Imperium leaders, hovering just above the shattered streets. The Space Marines stood rigid, statues of war that seemed more machine than flesh. Every movement was precise, a ritual performed for the sake of duty alone. Their leaders radiated authority, not arrogance, but inevitability. Psychers hovered nearby, robes glowing with strange energy, their hands shaping the air into patterns that bent reality itself. Light twisted around them, like the city had become water and gravity had lost its grip. Superman spoke first, his voice calm but commanding. "We mean no harm. We want understanding." His words carried weight, yet the Imperium's officers tilted their heads, silent and still. It was clear that mercy or negotiation were foreign concepts. Obedience, sacrifice, and unquestioning duty were the only currency here. Every decision, every glance, every gesture reinforced that the universe had rules we had never imagined. I watched Batman step forward next. Analyzing, calculating. His gadgets tried to read their intentions, measure their energy, predict their reactions. Every tool failed. Nothing in his experience could penetrate the psychic and physical discipline of these warriors. He clenched his jaw and studied them like chess pieces, but even in the stillness, I could feel the storm building around us. These were not soldiers in the way we understood soldiers. They were angels of war, bound by laws that did not bend. Commanded by leaders who treated obedience as a form of perfection, the air shimmered as a psyker raised his hand. Reality rippled, streets warped, buildings bent toward impossible angles. Superman's eyes widened. He could see threads of time stretching and folding, possibilities sprouting and dying in a blur. He gasped, unable to stop the visions assaulting his mind. A single gesture revealed centuries of history, futures that might never come, the weight of lives across galaxies. The Imperium was not merely strong at perceived existence differently, judging and acting with knowledge we could barely imagine. And then I felt it, something probing beneath the surface. A whisper, subtle and dark, threading between the worlds. Chaos was here, observing, testing. It didn't shout or strike, it hinted, showing us what might happen if moral choices collided with unyielding duty. Every instinct screamed danger, yet it was invisible to the eye. The city seemed quiet compared to the chaos in perception. The ground shook as the first. Chaos forces tore through the city's outskirts. Massive shapes that should not have existed moving with terrifying precision. I could feel the air twist around them, reality itself bending as if it were afraid to resist. Primarch-like beings appeared among them, colossal and gleaming with unnatural energy, eyes glowing with fire and malice. Superman surged forward, fists clenching, while Wonder Woman raised her sword, and Flash streaked along the streets, weaving between explosions. Every blow they landed barely scratched the armored Space Marines, who responded with unyielding discipline. The weapons the Imperium carried weren't like anything I had ever seen. Bolters spat fire that ignored walls and steel, cutting through concrete and vehicles as though matter itself were optional. Psykers hovered above the chaos, their hands weaving invisible threads that bent probability. A street that was safe a second ago now collapsed under unseen forces. And I had to leap to avoid being crushed by what felt like destiny itself being rewritten. Whispers reached my mind, not words, but pressure, suggestion. Chaos gods watching, probing, trying to find weakness in heroes who had never faced them. I could feel Superman stiffen, his eyes narrowing as flashes of what might happen or could happen tumbled through his consciousness. Wonder Woman's sword sang through the air, but each strike carried weight beyond just force. It was a clash of principles, morality versus duty, hope against inevitability. Buildings trembled, glass and steel twisting as psychic and physical energy collided. Explosions erupted with colors that shouldn't exist, painting the air with impossibility. Even Flash, moving faster than light should allow, found his speed tested against forces that could predict and counter movement before it occurred. Every instinct screamed that this was more than a fight. It was a test of understanding, a war of wills played out through bodies and weapons, yet shaped by ideas too immense to name. I ducked behind a crumbling wall as a bolter round tore through the pavement where I had been standing seconds before. The wind carried the sound of Space Marine war cries and the distorted, mocking laughter of Chaos Primarchs. Heroes I had trusted, the ones who normally could handle anything, looked human in that moment. Fragile and mortal against beings who existed outside the normal rules. The city lay in ruins, yet its lights burned with a strange brilliance, gold and blue intertwining across shattered streets. I hovered above the chaos, watching Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman weigh their options. The Imperium was relentless, disciplined beyond comprehension. Every gesture of diplomacy seemed meaningless against their absolute sense of duty. Still, the thought of negotiating, of finding some fragile bridge between worlds, burned in my mind. Chaos whispered at the edges, twisting possibilities, tempting with shortcuts, power, the ease of survival through compromise. I could feel it pressing against my thoughts, offering answers that sounded like solutions, but felt like surrender. Superman's jaw was tight, eyes fixed on the distant shapes of space marines advancing in perfect formation. Wonder Woman's grip on her sword tightened. Even she, the embodiment of honor and conviction, seemed weighed down by the impossible choice before us. Could our universe survive if we bent to theirs? Could morality survive where obedience ruled above all else? I reached outward, stretching my perception, and felt the Imperium's emperor-like figure. His presence was overwhelming, a psychic pulse that pressed against every corner of my mind, demanding attention. He did not speak in words, not in any way I had known, but in probabilities, in outcomes, in threads of potential futures. The message was clear. Any choice carried consequences far beyond the battlefield. I glanced at the ruined city, at streets scarred by energy blasts and buildings twisted by forces that ignored physical law. Even as I weighed the cost of compromise, I saw the small lights flickering in the windows of surviving structures, people trapped or fleeing. Their lives, fragile and fleeting, were now tied to decisions that no single hero could fully predict.